Hey guys, welcome to this hands-on lesson. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to create an AWS Elastic Beanstalk application. So in the management console, let's navigate over to Elastic Beanstalk. Here it is. Run and manage web apps. So that's what we want to do. We want to run a web application without having to worry about provisioning the underlying infrastructure layer. Now, the first component within Beanstalk is you have to create something called an application. Within an application, we then have environments. The environments are either web server environments or worker environments. The web server environment is literally a web application, so it's your sort of web front end, your website if you like. The worker environment is actually there to take over some of the long-running execution, for example, if you've got some processing to do. So then you might have a web server environment. Subsequently, within the same application, you create the worker environment and it creates an SQS queue, and the web server can offload some of those tasks to the worker environment. Now, all we need to do now is leave it on web server, choose an application name. I just call this my EB website. Okay, so I've got a name. It's going to automatically create the environment name for me. I'm okay with that. So that's created the application name and then the environment name. You could put a domain name in there if you want to create a customized domain, and you can check availability. I'll just leave the default here. Now we've got the managed platform, so we have some options. We can choose from a whole variety of different application frameworks. So I'm just going to choose Node.JS for this one. Now we're going to use the sample application, so we'll just use the code that's provided for us. We have some presets here, so if we want just a single instance, which is within the free tier, we'll leave the default selection. If we want high availability, for example, then it's going to configure a load balancer and multiple instances across multiple AZs. We'll just leave it on single instance, click next. This is quite a long wizard. There used to be a nice, simple, easy way with a simplified wizard, and you could choose to go through the advanced details if you wanted to. It doesn't exist anymore. It's a lot more complex in terms of the settings that you have to define when you create an environment, and some of the settings which are displayed aren't even necessarily relevant. I'll show you through that in a moment. So now what we want to do is either use an existing service role, if one exists, or create a new one. I'm going to allow it to create a new service role for Elastic Beanstalk. For key pair, you're going to need to choose a key pair. So make sure you've got access to this if you want to be able to connect using SSH. If you don't have a key pair, go and create one in EC2, come back, hit the refresh button, and you will then be able to select it. Now we do need to attach an instance profile. It doesn't tell us it's mandatory here, but if you don't, the installation will actually fail. So I'm going to choose an instance profile I have available for S3 read-only permissions. It's kind of strange because I might not even want to provide any permissions to this instance, but you have to attach an instance profile. Okay, let's click on next. Now we need to choose a VPC. I'm going to choose my default VPC and then choose a couple of subnets. Of course, I only need one really, but maybe if I want to expand at a later date, then having a couple would be useful. I'm going to select this option to assign a public IP address. Here, it wants us to choose the database subnets, which is strange because we didn't ask for a database. So hopefully I won't need to select these. We can come down past all this grayed out stuff, click on next. I'm going to leave the default root volume type and monitoring. And here I need to select a security group. So I'm going to select a security group. You might find later on that it actually creates a security group for you, which is odd because I just selected one. But we'll see if that happens. It has happened to me before. So I've selected the web access security group, which has port 80 open for my web server. Now it's going to create an auto-scaling group. And in this case, because we did choose the single instance option and not load balanced, it's just going to be one instance that is launched. So I'm going to leave this as on demand. Scroll down. I'm going to deselect these options. I want to choose the T2 micro. That's what we always use. So I'm going to select the T2 micro and it should update the AMI ID for me. Let's click on next again. Now we can choose to have health reporting if we wish to, in which case we have to choose the metrics. I'm going to turn that off. Now I must deselect the managed platform updates because they rely on the health reporting. But I want to make this a little bit easier in terms of this demonstration. So I'm going to deselect this option. Now, when that is enabled, of course, that means that AWS are managing updates to the platform, and we can set the weekly update window here and the update level. Email notifications are not necessary, so we don't need to specify an email address. And for application deployments, there's a few different policies that you can use. In this case, all at once is the only one that applies. So let's scroll down. Platform software we can see is Nginx. I'm not going to enable X-Ray or S3 log storage. You see there's a lot of settings. Let's click on next. Okay, we're on the review page, so it looks like we're there finally. So let's scroll all the way down and click on submit. So now what should happen is we should see some events, and hopefully they're all going to look like successful events. And after a few minutes, our website should be available. You can click on refresh, of course, to make sure you're up to date with what's going on. And it does take several minutes to deploy the Beanstalk environment. After a few minutes, we can see that we now have a successful launch. And if you look through some of the details of what happened here, it did create a security group. And that's strange because I actually selected a security group. But what it does is it seems to attach you to the security group that you select in the wizard, and also creates an additional one. It also creates an Elastic IP so that if you do have multiple instances, it can move it between instances. In this case, that wouldn't really be necessary because we've got the public IP. But that's what it does. And it's now gone through the various processes. The environment health has gone to green, and it tells us it's successfully launched. And up here, we've got this link, so we can click across, and this is the Node.js default web page for Elastic Beanstalk. So that's good. That's actually working. Everything has been successful. Now, if we head over to EC2, we will be able to see this instance. It's managed for us, but we can see it in our account. In fact, if you click on it, you will also be able to connect to it using SSH, as long as you actually have the relevant port open in the security group. So you can see we've come onto an Elastic Beanstalk page here. It's letting us very clearly know that we are on a server that's managed by Elastic Beanstalk. And it does let us know in the message here that changes made via SSH will be lost if the instance is replaced by autoscaling. Remember, there's other ways to manage your code here. You might manage your code through a pipeline or upload different versions of your code rather than making changes here through the actual console in the ECS instance directly. You want to use this as a platform as a service solution. So let's close out of that one. If I click on the instance, we can see under security that we do have two security groups attached. The one I chose in the wizard, and then this other one which was created as part of the installation process. So that's how Beanstalk works. It deploys an instance into our account, but then it performs management. For example, here we can go to application versions. We don't have any updates at this point, but we could upload different versions of our application through here. If we click on the environment, you can see the configuration. You can add databases, change the networking configuration, and so on. We've got events so that you can keep an eye on what's going on, including viewing the health status here. We've then got the logs here. You can request access to the logs. We have the monitoring tab as well, where we can see some more service metrics. So there's quite a lot of information in here. We can manage our installation. We can upload and deploy new versions of our code and have everything managed for us by AWS.